Welcome, friends. Welcome. We are doing our ADHD mental health chat, but we're going to talk about ADHD and cooking. What would you say your favorite things to eat were? Yeah, we like mashed potatoes. We like sweet potatoes for sure. But we have a special guest. This is my daughter, super amazing human,
Hi, everyone.
not great at going to bed. She's going to be joining us for our chat on ADHD and cooking. Cooking can be a whole thing, guys. There's a lot that goes into it, right? There's picking and planning what you're going to eat. There's making sure you have all the things to make that. I mean, there's a lot of executive function that goes into this. Planning, time estimation, able to multitask, trying to plan food to come out at around the same time, like different dishes and everything be done close to the same time. There's a lot that goes into cooking. And so it's something that we can struggle with various parts of. Time estimation is the weakness. So it's something we can really struggle with. And that's okay. It's all right to struggle with cooking because it is a lot of future planning. And so there's a couple tips and tricks that I'll be able to give you guys too, on top of just kind of talking about what it is and like what's going on with it and why it's challenging. We'll also have that. One thing that we struggle with sometimes is following a recipe. So even if we've looked up and found a recipe for something, making sure we've read every step and making sure we've done all the things, but following every step and making sure we have every ingredient before we start and we know how to like do the recipe. A lot of times we just are like, oh yeah, we can get all that stuff together and we're just going to go at it before we've read the whole thing. I've done it a bunch of times where there's like comments on a recipe online where it's like, hey, if you're using this, do this instead. And I'm like, I wish I would have read that, or I messed it all up. Lots of times there's stuff like that that I always miss. We have a bad habit of forgetting something. Salt. I read over and forget the salt bit. And then, sometimes for me, salt is like my in the morning, like, did you take your medicine thing? Where it's like, did I add the salt? I don't want to add too much salt. Like, you can't take it out. But like, you're also like, did I add it? Because it's so small sometimes that you're like, I'm not sure on this. But yeah, we have a bad habit of like when we go shopping for things, when we're cooking things, when we're reading recipes, is like missing something small. And a lot of times, especially for baking, that you can't forget anything. We can get easily distracted. I don't know how many of you guys have been cooking something or doing something.
Mommy.
And I know Rach said you have left something on the stove, left something in the oven, ended up burning something. We've had to learn a lot of substitutions. Yeah, that's the cool thing about having the internet is you can Google like, hey, if I didn't get this or I forgot this, like what can I replace it with? And that's really, really helpful. That's really, really nice. Yeah, we get to be adaptive. Exactly right, Hokie. So we get easily distracted, and so that's kind of tough a lot of times when we're trying to cook things that take time, or like especially when it's like, oh yeah, this is almost done and it just needs to go in for like 2 or 3 more minutes and then we walk away and then 10 minutes has passed and this thing has burnt. Like that's happened to me countless times. But a level of distraction definitely brings a challenge within itself to cooking with ADHD. We can be a bit messy when we cook. So this is something when I worked in a real kitchen as a chef, I had to really, really work hard on, is cleaning as I go and making sure I was keeping my space clear instead of just like piling messes up and then taking them all at once. Cleaning as you go is really, really important. A lot of times I'll get to the end of making dinner and I'm just like, every dish is dirty and in my sink. And I'm just like, I can't do this right now. But if I clean as I go and I'm able to kind of do it as I'm working, I find that really, really helpful. I mean, the sink doesn't magically wash the dishes. Yes, correct. The sink doesn't magically wash the dishes. And sadly, just because the idea is that you cook and somebody else cleans up, that also doesn't happen. Like, just clean as you go. Imagine nobody else is going to clean for you. We can get kind of discouraged too if what we're cooking doesn't turn out right the first time. We mess something up or people don't like it, and we can get very, very frustrated by that. I really encourage you guys to not give up on something, even if you didn't cook it right. Just make sure you're not comparing it to all the pictures online, because a lot of times those pictures online are just like fantasy. They're not like legit. But yeah, use timers. Use things like crock pots where you can just kind of set and forget. It's really good to make sure that you are setting realistic expectations for yourself, especially if you are running a household. You have a family or people you're taking care of. Like, getting distracted when I'm cooking and I have her, it's way easier for me to get distracted or miss something or forget something. And I give myself forgiveness for that. It's like, well, it's probably because I was focusing too much on her or hanging out with